Welcome, Gunrunner.
This video is brought to you by a compendium of ZX Spectrum games, Volume 1 and Volume 2 by Kieran Hawken and Retro Originals Publishing. These full-colour paperback books each feature over 300 game reviews from the early days in 1982 right up to the homebrew games of today, as well as 3 developer interviews, fascinating facts and trivia, Sinclair history, personal stories and much more, making them the ultimate companion to Sir Clive Sinclair's iconic 8-bit computer. Both books can be purchased worldwide from Amazon and all leading bookstores, as well as my wider range of retro gaming related publications. So what are you waiting for? Get your copy today! Back in April 2023, I ran a poll to decide the greatest Sinclair ZX Spectrum games of all time, and it proved incredibly popular. In fact, it's the second most popular video on my whole channel, with 175,000 views thus far. As always with these types of videos, lots of arguments soon broke out in the comments section about the rankings, especially after I added the full top 50 as a pinned post, with people either pointing out the games that they felt were missing or questioning the actual order they appeared in. Then there were the people who clearly weren't paying attention or chose to just skip through the video, or who seemed to think the whole thing was based on my personal opinions, not realising it was all voted for by you guys. And this all led to lots of people asking me to name my own top 20, which I'd actually held back on doing until now. And the reason I came back to this discussion has already been hinted at during the intro to this very video, because I've just finished writing my second Sinclair ZX Spectrum book, and that revived a lot of my nostalgia for the classic 8-bit computer, which I personally grew up with. And all I could think about was finally putting this list together that I've debated in my own head for so long. So here we are. I'm sure this list will upset a lot of hardcore Spectrum fans because there'll be a lot of very obvious big name games that are missing, so let me just reiterate. These choices are purely based on my own opinions, the kind of games that I like to play and the Spectrum games that I still come back to time after time. So with all that out the way, I guess it's time to get going with that countdown. Ultimate Play the Game, known today as Rare, always feature heavily on greatest ever Spectrum games lists. But to be honest, this is the only one of their games that I continuously come back to. It has that perfect arcade game-like quality, where it's easy to learn but hard to truly master. I knew before I compiled this list that I had to include at least one puzzle game, because it's one of my favourite genres and one that the Spectrum did really well. I thought long and hard about which game I wanted to include, but Pac-Mania just kept coming back to me. It's such an underrated classic. Another genre that's always been a firm favourite of mine is video pinball, right up to today in fact, where I regularly play my favourite tables on Pinball Arcade for the Xbox. And the best example of that genre for the Specky is undoubtedly Time Scanner, a simply wonderful port of the Sega coin-op. Michael Keaton's first Batman movie came out just as I turned 12, and as one of the very first films to carry the 12 rating, I couldn't wait to see it. It immediately became one of my all-time favourite movies, and Ocean's video game adaptation certainly didn't disappoint either, capturing the look and feel of the film perfectly. In the intro, I mentioned my inspirations for making this video, and without writing that book, I probably wouldn't have remembered just how great Psycho Pigs is. One of my more left field picks here is a superb conversion of the little known Jaleco coin-op, and I struggle to think of a more fun game. One of my very earliest video game memories is playing Pac-Man on holiday at Butlins, and the character has stuck with me throughout my life. By far his best outing on the Spectrum is Pac-Mania, another classic coin-op conversion that took Pac-Man into 3D and added some amazing tunes too. Another arcade memory from holidays at Butlins, I was blown away by Gauntlet the first time I saw it, and it was also the very first game I got to play with my whole family. Because of that, it was the very first game I bought for my Spectrum, and I certainly wasn't disappointed, as it's a great conversion. Another expert arcade port, yes I know they feature heavily on this list, is Rainbow Islands, which turned out to be better than I ever imagined. Coders Graft Gold recreated everything here, and even managed to get in some colour in a time when so many Spectrum games had turned monochrome. When I went out to buy a new Spectrum game, the Codemasters logo was always one of the first things I looked out for. They made quirky and consistently good games, but this was by far their finest moment. A wonderful parody of the music industry with lots of familiar faces and gameplay that kept you coming back for more. I had actually moved on to the Atari ST by the time this game came out, which is where I first played it, but I was surprised to later discover just how amazing the Spectrum version is. An awesome combination of arcade and strategy, North and South excels when you play it against a friend. Like many ZX Spectrum owners, I first came across this game on a Your Sinclair cover tape, and it remains my favourite cover tape game for the Spectrum. A brilliant port of the Atari 8-bit game, it's so much deeper than it first seems, with a whole universe to explore and an alien armada to wipe out. Coded by the always awesome Jim Bagley, who also did the superb Spectrum conversion of Midnight Resistance, Cabal was another game I loved in the arcades that worked perfectly on Sir Clive's Rubber Key Wonder. The chunky graphics look amazing and the gameplay is nigh on unbeatable. If this was a list of the most technically impressive Spectrum games, then I'd probably put this game at number 1. But thankfully for us, Dare 3 isn't just all looks and no substance, because underneath David Perry and Nick Brute's stunning full-colour graphics engine is an equally wonderful game. It might not look like much, but underneath those simple character-based graphics is one of the very best strategy games on the Spectrum, and one of the best multiplayer games on the system too. One of my very earliest memories of playing on a Spectrum, Viking Raiders has become so much more than that to me. And from one of my favourite multiplayer games on the Spectrum to another that I probably played more with my younger brother than any other. This superb port of the title arcade game, Specky Bubble Bobble looks great, sounds even better, and absolutely nails the ever addictive gameplay. Before there was Grand Theft Auto, there was Jarrell's Turbo Esprit, which is indeed credited as an inspiration for Rockstar's title, and the first time I remember a game that gave you a choice between playing as a good guy or an outright criminal. This one is rightly regarded as an all-time classic. If you ask me what my favourite video game genre is, then I'd respond with scrolling beat 'em ups, even without thinking. There was certainly no shortage of these for the Spectrum, but very few that were actually any good, and Target Renegade stands head and shoulders above the rest as the very best. Undoubtedly the best coin-op conversion ever released for the Spectrum, Ocean's port of Chase HQ nailed everything from the high speeds to the digitised speech. In fact, it was so good that it even put the 16-bit versions of the game to shame, and remains one of the best reasons to fire up my Specky. I will never forget the first time I saw RoboCop on a pirate VHS tape. I was utterly blown away by it. I had exactly the same feelings when I played the game too. From the moment it loads, when you hear that wonderful digitised speech, to the awesome graphics and incredible tunes, this is an almost perfect product. I always knew that this would be my number 1. The sequel to School Days, it often gets overlooked in favour of its prequel, which always annoys me, because Back to School adds so much more to the equation. One of the very first truly open world arcade adventures, a Spectrum exclusive, and an unmissable game.
With the new Sinclair Spectrum Plus 3, I can be who I want to be. With a built-in disk drive, I can be the fastest rider off the grid. With the 128K memory, I can be the most powerful force in the universe. And you get 6 other free games and a free joystick.
You're turning into a real computer expert. And at £199, I've saved the Earth.
The new Sinclair Spectrum Plus 3 with built-in disk drive. Who would you like to be?
And that ends my countdown of my personal top 20 ZX Spectrum games. But what are your top picks, and were there any games that you were surprised to see in my list? I also love to read your views and comments, so please get typing below this video. Before I go though, I must thank all of my loyal patrons and YouTube members for continuing to support my channel and make videos like this possible. However, I must give special thanks to the following people in particular for their much appreciated pledges: D. Vaughan, Albert Davis, Richard Baker, Martin Wiggins, Peter Grantham, Bernard Santu, Mins, Classic Gamer 74, Josh Hartman, Daniel Skronsky, Ben P. Stein, Tabby Kitsune, Grady Haynes, Paul Daniel, Seth A. Robinson, Klimatorn, Carl Olsen, Mark Strickland, Big Chuzzle, Carl Cloping, Black Siren, John Alberino, Krispy Kreme, Justin Cooney, Tellboy 2011, and Electron Star Collapse. If you also want to help support this channel, then you can now join as a member for as little as £2 a month. We will get access to exclusive videos and updates and much more besides. Just click the button on my community page to get started. My Patreon is also still available if you prefer to support me in other ways too. I've been the Laird, I thank you for watching, and I'll see you all again for another video very soon.